Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. Put some respect on George Russell of Kings Lynn, Norfolk, first of his name. He was a bit good today at the Las Vegas Grand Prix qualifying, wasn't he? Felt like it was never in doubt watching from a distance. Had it all under control, particularly in Q3. Went out there, nailed his banker lap, came back in the pits, said, listen, make sure that I'm last on track so that I can improve on my lap time by dint of the rate at which the track is evolving. God tier level race IQ from King George there. I was impressed. People say that dude is Mr. Saturday. I think he's a little bit more than that. Indeed, he's becoming in real time. He was always a killer. Please see the overtake on Jack Aitken many moons, many cycles ago. Always had that killer instinct, and indeed that warrants respect, not least the respect of three soon-to-be four-time champion Maximilian Verstappen. But he is showing and proving in real time, making proud his team principal. Toto, the boy who cried wolf, who's come into contact with a lot of criticism this week by function, by dint even of his criticisms of Sir Lewis Hamilton, saying that dude is getting older, potentially past his prime. Shelf life talk, cognitive sharpness talk. He's making Toto, the boy who cried wolf, super proud, is he not? Toto, the boy who cried wolf, on the back of that performance, super happy for once as far as his countenance. Doing one of these. I showed you. I told you that I need to build for the future. I've talked to Sir Alex Ferguson and Pep Guardiola, and those guys did the same thing. George Russell was 3/10 quicker than the rest of the field, even in sector one alone, and that has to mean something. We put some respect on Maximilian Verstappen's name when he did something similar a couple of races back, did he not? 25-second sector, 3/10. That's material as a percentage of the whole. And again, if you're going to celebrate these God tier ones as a function of their ability to gap the rest of the field, then this is that. No, George Russell did bits around sector one, medium duration, medium speed turns, and he's always been very good around those. It is therefore his mission, should he choose to accept it, to kick on, to prove the naysayers and doubters incorrect, that he is capable of putting Mercedes on his back and building a team, bringing the boys and girls of Brackley and Brixworth back to the mountaintop. Lest we forget that his teammate, when asked earlier on in the season, does he think that George can be the leader of the team once Sir Lewis has gone to pastures anew, Lewis Hamilton responded thus: long, elongated, deliberate pause, settings. Oh, and by the way, we've got to talk about Sir Lewis Hamilton, because what I will never ever do on this channel for the avoidance of doubt is sacrifice truth and objectivity at the altar of partisanship nor confirmation bias. Sir Lewis Hamilton is my driver, but we've got to have a serious conversation here. There's potentially three things that are happening. Either you can lean into tinfoil hattery and conspiracy theories and say that they're not giving Lewis Hamilton the car, or Lewis Hamilton is past his prime and he's dropping the ball, or a mixture of both of the aforementioned. You can only pick one. Which one of those are you picking to explain the fact that Lewis Hamilton keeps making mistakes at critical times? Lest we forget, he was pace all weekend. In free practice, he was quickest for two of those three sessions, was he not? In qualifying, his lap in Q2 would have been quick enough to put him in P3. So what are we talking about here? I would love, it would be easy for me to lean into the conspiracy theory settings, talking about tyre pressures and temperatures. It'd be beautiful. It'd be really, really easy. I could sleep easier. Indeed, we wouldn't have to have this techie conversation about where Lewis is at as far as his F1 career, if that were indeed the case. But I'm not sure that is the case, and we know that because of Lewis's speed in Q2, unless of course, as I'm sure Lewis Hamilton fans around the world might allude to, unless maybe Mercedes tinkered with Lewis's setup between Q2 and Q3. Maybe this is a possibility, although as far as an expected value calc, I think this is in the low probability category. I think this is a case of Hanlon's razor, Occam's razor even, that the simplest explanation for this is potentially the one that you want to lean on most frequently. That Lewis, as far as this rule and reg set, this tech spec, the combination of these very mercurial tyre compounds with this aerodynamically sensitive ground effect car, there is something about him pushing it in the peak moments, the paid sessions, the clutch moments, particularly in qualifying, that Lewis Hamilton somehow doesn't gel well with. This has happened far too many times now for us to just chalk it up as Mercedes. Q2 again for the avoidance of doubt. That lap that he did then would have been quick enough to make it on to P3. Ladies and gentlemen, Houston, I think we have ourselves a problem as far as Lewis Hamilton. Now listen, I'm hoping, praying to the F1 gods that as soon as Lewis goes across the Scuderia Ferrari in 2025, that he refines, rediscovers himself, remembers who Sir Lewis Hamilton is. But because as at the time of writing, Lewis Hamilton is having himself a crisis of confidence. I say again for the avoidance of doubt that Toto, the boy who cried wolf on the back of all his blasphemy, will be doing one of these. I told you so. Of course I've got to build a team for the future in the image of one King George Russell and one Andrea Kimi Antonelli. How very dare you. Colapinto in the barrier again. Can we take a rain check on this dude's greatness? He may soon be the next Ayrton Senna, but just because he looks like him doesn't mean that we need to impose on him that level of pressure. Not to that extent, not now. He's only a few races in, 4 or 5? He can't be great just yet. Even the greatest ones, please see Maximilian Verstappen and Sir Lewis Hamilton in their rookie seasons, made mistakes. Let's take a chill pill on it. Can't always be the greatest or the very worst. Oftentimes it's somewhere in the middle, shades of grey, and this isn't something we do very well as far as ourselves, the way in which we ingest Formula One as an F1 community. I say all that to say this, I'm still hoping that he will be in that Red Bull car in 2025, because the incumbent, the chap that currently occupies that seat, is doing nothing. Again, that dude fails to get out of Q1. What are we doing in a Red Bull racing car? This is unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury. There is no chance. This makes no sense. He has no case anymore. Yeah, it's tough conditions, but everybody, Checo, is dealing with this. Cool temperatures. And again, you've got to be super careful on the way that you bring the tyres into their optimal temperature window, of course, lest you want to grain them. But again, I say for the avoidance of doubt, Checo, Perez, everybody's dealing with this. So what's your excuse, Checo? Listen, if it's too hot in the kitchen and you want to get out, and I think it's now more than ever, it is that time for Checo Perez. It's done. Sub in Checo, sub in Colapinto, sub in Lawson, sub in anyone. Yuki Tsunoda, again for the avoidance of doubt, making a case, puts it in 7th. Any one of the aforementioned can go in there because Checo Perez's time is done in Formula One. If indeed there is a semblance of meritocracy to be taken into the decision making of one Christian Horner, team principal of Red Bull Racing, then Checo Perez will be gone at the very latest before the start of the 2025 season. Oh, the humanity.